Hi, this is Phyllis, and in this video, I am going to show you how to turn this into this. Okay, we're going to start out with these 5 strips, and we're going to end up with the front and the back of what I'm going to call design pouch. And I'm calling it that because we're going to design the layers. You can get any color you want. I think the two dominant colors here need to be reflected. And I want to tell you that this is not the way I got this from Janook channel, and they actually had it so that there was the dark piece was in the middle, and they had some kind of lighter piece here and something else here, but I didn't like that. And I got Lou to help me, and we came up with this, which ended up making it look like this. So let's get started. I'm going to show you how to do this. In the tutorial that I watched, she didn't tell us how long to make the strips. So I made the strips 24 inches based upon how many cuts we had to make. And apparently it didn't really need to be that long. Come on. Are you seeing this? Okay. So I'm going to give you the width. The two outside are 4 inches. I wonder if I meant to write that down. I'm going to see if I did write it down so you don't have to write it down for yourself. Yes, I did write that down. Okay, the 2 outside pieces are 4 inches, and the 3 center pieces are 2 inches. You know me, I'm always writing my stuff down. Oh, that's right, I wanted to call this Creating Patterns pouch, not design pouch. Well, one of the two. These are my instructions that I took after reading the tutorial, watching the tutorial. So we're going to start with sewing front sides together. We're going to sew this to that. We're going to sew this to that. This to that, and this to that. And yes, I'm going to let you watch me sew it all the way through. I thought my machine was on. I was trying to wake it up. I'm going to aim this a little bit this way, so if I'm working with the material a little bit offside, you can still see me. Okay. I hope everyone enjoys these tutorials. I enjoy doing them. Now, you notice I didn't lay those there and pin them. Okay. Oh, I didn't tell you how long to make the strips. Oh yes, I did. I made them 24 inches because we have to get a set of 12 strips out of them. Okay. But you see, I do like to use these clips instead of pins. And I just, and the reason I use the clips, the reason I use anything is so that as I'm going down, I don't want to get so comfortable with myself that I'm not paying attention. It happens. So see, I actually want to get this. I'm going to make it it's a 1/4 inch seam. And your accuracy on these strips is very important. So here we go. I'm just getting this started because I want to come all the way down here. I know I'm off scene, but what I'm doing is I'm stretching my material out all the way so I can put the ends together. I just want to keep the material from sliding around, because once it starts sliding, I might not notice it. Oh, and by the way, yes, I changed my needle. I changed my color of thread to green. And what else did I do? Not much of anything else except study this tutorial. Okay, I'm going to back up just a little bit. Okay, here we go. Oh, I didn't have my walking foot on. Now I'm reassessing where my material is going. And another thing you want to make sure is you don't want to get off. Sometimes towards the end of your line of sewing, sometimes you have a tendency to loosen your grip. But you don't want to change your path. Okay. Now, I'd love to take this to the sewing machine and sew it right now, but now I'm grabbing the yellow one. I will not take it to the sewing machine and sew it because, I mean, the ironing board and iron it. Oh my goodness. That's too funny. Okay. Hush, little baby, don't say a word. Mama's gonna buy you a mockingbird. See, I'm just lining up these edges. I can line them up as I go, but you just have to always be mindful of it. Don't forget. See how it would like to go if you weren't controlling it? Okay. I didn't mean to be so quiet during that last sewing session. I was thinking about Brother Mark August and what he was saying. Oh, I want to show you something that I made a decision about on the first one, because I am using a directional material. The peppers are kind of facing up. So when I cut this one, when I put this one on, I'm going to make sure that the peppers are facing the other way. That way, no matter which way it turns, one's going to be facing one way and the other's going to be facing the other. And whatever else happens with it, it'll all work out. So it won't really matter this way, that way. So remember, if you do use a directional material with directional pattern like that, take that into consideration. I think that makes it, I actually don't think it would matter, because I think the randomness of sewing them back together, and you'll see what I mean when you actually, because we're going to cut this in strips, see, when we get this done. Now what is that? I know what that was. That was me not placing my material, not placing my edges together because I was too busy talking. One of the blessings of not having cataracts is I can see the colors more clearly. All right, I just have one last piece. I hope that you're making plans to go get some material. This is so simple to do, and the results are so astonishing. I simply cannot believe how this turned out. Now, I have done this type of thing before with a different pattern, and I liked it better. I'll show you what it was, but I can't remember the measurements on that one. And I can't remember the tutorial that I found. And I can't find my notes that I made. If any of those other things come to me, then I'll show you. look at that. It's not lined up even though I've got it clipped. Okay, now we gotta go to the iron board. I'm so sorry, but this is a very integral part. Well, this really ain't broke. It's just not the right kind of thing. It's just getting kind of old. Now, it's very important. Are you looking at the right thing? Yes. It's very important that you do this step. And because you saw what we're going to end up with. When we get to this stage, we're going to have too much of a mess. The next stage, we won't have to do it. But this, it's important. While I'm waiting for my iron to get hot, I'm going to try something different myself. I'm going to see if I can get all of these open and get my iron started at this end. What is the chance of that happening, folks? Slim to none. Well, you know, I try to make a challenge in everything I do. Aren't challenges what keeps life going? Seriously, you know, if you if nothing was ever a challenge, if you just got up every day, and you had to do the same endless thing, I mean, think about it. Well, you think about it. I can't really express myself. I'm trying not to don't stretch the material as you pull your iron down. Okay, what I'm doing here, and I don't know if I'm still on camera or not, is I'm simply trying to spread these seams, iron the seams open, getting them spread out, getting them ironed. And the challenge is not to iron closed the one that you just got through opening. What about that? What if you did that? I've done it. Also, you don't want to burn your finger. You don't want it to get too close to that iron. I tell you, if you're one of those learn by watching people, I hope I'm helping you, because I like to explain to you what I'm doing. I watch these tutorials, and I got this from a tutorial, and apparently these people are international, and they don't speak the language, and they probably wouldn't want to get ridiculed for their accent, maybe. I don't know. But I find it difficult. Sometimes I don't understand when she's just pointing, and I'm like, see, she would just say, you know, and you're supposed to figure out what she's doing. Well, okay, see how nice that looks? Now the next step is to measure 2 inches and get 12 strips this way. Okay? I wonder if this would be a good view. Huh. There we go. Okay. We're going to, well, I'm going to straighten it up a little bit. I'm going to there's no need for me to straighten it up. Okay, because it's doing fine. This is a little bit short. Can you see that? Somehow I didn't make this end quite long enough. But that's okay. It won't matter in the long run. I did the same thing with that other one. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to count off 2-inch strips. Okay? One. I had to count when I was watching the video to make sure she had 12. This is 2. Whoops. 3. 4. The next thing we do, now comes the fun part. I think this has been fun up to this point, but I sure wish I was through cutting these so I could show you the next step. 5. I could have been counting the commandments. Let's see, the 6th commandment is, what is the 6th commandment? Honor your father and mother, isn't it? No. That's the 5th. I'm sorry, I can't remember the 6th commandment. I think it is you shall not murder. And then the next one after that is you shall not murder. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not bring a false witness to your neighbor. Or a malicious witness. Don't talk evil about your neighbor. You do not covet your neighbor's wife or land or anything that belongs to your neighbor. You shall love Yahuwah, your Elohim, with all your heart and all your strength and all your being. you shall love your neighbor as yourself. Voila! Fun time. I want to see how much of this you can see. Okay, watch closely. Don't go to sleep, and don't think you've got it until you know you've got it. Okay, here we go. First step. I'm sorry, this is an ugly one. Maybe I should start at the other end. Well, it doesn't matter. Okay, first step. This one, that's all bent. It won't matter later. Do you see the pepper? You're going to line the pepper up with the yellow. Now, you've got to be consistent. Don't get confused. Don't get dyslexic like me. You put the pepper with the yellow and you line it all up. Put the pepper with the yellow and you line it all up. Here we go. Do you see how we're getting a zigzag look here? So that's how we're going to sew these together, one after the other. And yes, I'm going to do this whole thing on camera. I may or may not cut it out. Okay, here we go. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to get this. Wonder why it looks so dark over there. I am going to cut this one out. I'm going to stop the video after I've done a few of these. So before I stop the video, like and subscribe and share this with your friends and neighbor, because we're going to use this pattern. Oh, I'm not stopping the video. No. I'm just going to take a break and come back with the next step. You won't know the difference. So don't hang up on me, please. Okay, I'm having to rearrange these. I'm going to arrange these when I bring each one to the sewing machine. I'm going to arrange it in reverse of what I showed you. Now this is why this is very critical. This is why we sew the things flat. And this is so critical. I'm going to come over here with it. Can you see? It looks almost like a butterfly. Oh, wait a minute. Here we go. There we go. See how I'm lining those seams up right there? See that? Make sure that's why you had to do it this way, so it would be flat when you sew across that. But it's even going to be more critical in the next phase. So I am going to pin these right here on these seams. And that's why I'm not going to make you watch all of this. I'm going to do a few of these and finish them off camera, and then bring you back for the next tricky little phase. But I don't see any need to. I want to do all of this under one video, and the reason being, the next one's going to be using this material for a pouch. See? That's why I call this design pouch, or what did I say? Creating patterns pouch. Oh, I'm sorry, I was off camera. All I was been doing is I've been pinning these. Now, I'm going to start sewing. This is important too. I'm going to start sewing up here because this material is so thin. If I start sewing up here, then it'll just work better. It's just the green material that's thin and flimsy, but it won't matter. I'm going to back it up with some fleece. Okay, hold on. I want you to see this. Can you see that? I should have had you closer, shouldn't I? Okay, now then I'm bringing the next one in. I'm bringing this next one in, and you have to make sure you match it up every time, because if you don't, you'll make a mistake. We're going to bring this over here, and we're going to match up these seams. Matching up the seams. I like to use a pin on this because I can actually hold the sides down better. I can actually sew over the pins. See, I'm matching these things up. Now this seam doesn't have anything to match up to, so I just pull it straight along here. I'm going to put a pin. Well, I'm just going to use a clip here to show that that's the end of where I have to sew. Now that pin was in there a little crooked. I don't want to take a chance rolling across that one. Okay. Can you see that pretty well? You can see you're getting the idea now of how this is turning out. We're just going to keep going. The next one is going to go down here. I'm going to turn that over here. Okay, now you saw the part. You saw me sewing all these together. I finished sewing them. You only saw me do 3. Well, this is what it looks like when you finish sewing it, okay? Now, when we iron this, and ironing is important. So when we iron this one, you want to iron them all in the same direction. And that's just because it's too hard now to separate them. See, because they're just too hard to separate. Well, I said they're too hard to separate, but it's really not going to make that much difference. The important is you want to sew it. I mean, you want to iron it. What is wrong with me? I think dyslasia isn't dyslasia when you can't remember the correct term. Okay, here we go. All right. Well, since I've got it here, I'm going to show you. What we have to do now is we have to find the center. I want to make sure you can see this because this is the next step, and it's very critical. I have it on the iron board because once I find the center, the way I find the center is I know this is the last colored thing here, and I imagine that here. This strip is out here. This has got to be the center. Do you see that? I'm going to lift it up one more time and show you how I did that. Let's come over here. I'm just bringing it over here. I'm lining this up with this. Come down here. All right, I'm lining this with this. And this. So this is the center line. Center line. I'm not going to cut that by hand. Come over here. I'm too chicken to cut that by hand. Here we go. This is the center line. I had to press it. There's my water. That would just be the thing to knock my water off on the... Okay. Here we go. All right. We are so close. We're not finished, folks. No. We've got to do this number. Did you see what I just did? Okay. I want to make sure you catch this. All right, I'm going to do this one more time for you. I cut it in half. I'm trading places. I'm sliding them in together. But we've got to be off center, right? We have to be off center. There you go. Remember I said it wouldn't matter about this being jaggedy? We're going to sew these two together anyway. Okay, so here's what we're going to do now. We're going to sew. Do you see what I just did? We've got to sew this one, the yellow to the pepper. And we're going to cut it right up. Put the pepper to the yellow and match it right up. And I'm making sure I match up the seams. Very critical. Very critical. Let me get a pen. When I'm matching seams, I like using pens. Okay. It's easier to pin this one on the cutting board because it's a little more complicated. It's complicated. Okay, I've got it pinned. I'm just going to sew that. I'm going to take you over here so you can watch it. Because once we get this last, we're going to sew it, and we got to make 2 cuts, and we're done with this part. Then we're going to use it to turn it into a pouch. And you can get your own, come up with your own design and have your own style. You can have your own colors. Okay. Last step, I promise. Okay, the next thing we do with this is we trim these. Well, we can cut this in half and then work with each half. We can do that. Let's just cut this in half. Are you seeing me? Okay. I'm just cutting it in half again. I didn't take it and iron it, but I can see the fold line clear enough. Now all that's left is for me to cut these into this shape. Okay. So in the general size for when we get to this piece is 6 3/4 by 10 1/2. That's the general size that you want to cut your, trim your pieces up to be for making the pouch. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just trim these up. This is, let's see, this is, I'm going to cut these, spines off first. That's the first thing I want to do. I'm going to make sure this is, I know what I'll do. I'll just line this up straight up with this. Yep. Line that straight up. See how I've lined these diamonds up? This is one way to do this. And so I'm looking over here at these, and I'm just going to cut them off. I'm just going to get as far over here as I can. Okay. And let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let me turn it this way. All right, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And it's supposed to be 6 3/4. So I'm going to cut this off at 6 3/4. There you go. 6 3/4. And this is supposed to be 10 1/2 inches. This is 10. This is 20. Oh my goodness, these things are way too big. It's supposed to be 10 1/2 inches, so it's howdy doody time. It's howdy doody time. I guess I'm just going to cut it off at 10 1/2 inches. Maybe I could use these pieces for a quilt or something. Okay. Voila. I'm using this for a center, so because I want the color to be the center. See, so I need to, I know that I want to come over at least 3 inches. 1, 2, 3, and maybe 3 3/4, or whatever looks good. I'm going to go over 3 1/2. works for me. See how I said this? See, this isn't straight. I'm going to end up cutting that off so that it doesn't matter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 3/4. There we go. So this is going to be 6 3/4. I'm going to cut this side first. I'm going to cut, I'm probably going to cut off a little bit on each side. Just, that's 10. And, well, no need to cut any off on this side. This side's doing fine. I'm just going to cut it off 10.5 inches right here. Measurements are very critical. Okay. There's this little thing sticking up here because it didn't like getting cut off. Okay, now what's going to happen in the next video is, look at that, isn't that cute? The next video, we're going to cut some fusible fleece and iron it on, and we're going to start, and we're going to put the zipper on. But this was just to show you how to create the design. If you want, you can just get yourself a plain piece of material that's decorative enough that you don't need to make it fancy. I just wanted to show you something cute. Okay. I love you. Remember, keep the commandments and be the bride. Shalom.